Good morning. Happy Thursday. Today, I might finish Hosea. I was looking at the chapters and there's not too many chapters left. So, we'll see how that works. My phone is trying to focus. I'm like, it just started. I don't know if maybe I bumped it. But I'll be reading Hosea, continuing in where I left off. I'm on chapter 10 today. So I think I might finish it. There's only 4 more chapters. Or 5 more chapters. We'll see. We'll see. I think that they're short chapters, so it should be a quick read. Good morning. And I'm not sure yet what I want to read next. I got it. I'm using a different coffee cup, and it's like filled to the brim. This is one I normally spill on. Good morning, good morning. I was helping my daughter with some of her lessons. She has to kind of write down in a spreadsheet all of her work for the week and then put the scores in. But we were trying to figure out how to create a new document. And then I sat here and I'm like, man, like, I don't know why I'm so tired today. I'm like, today is, well, I know why I'm tired. Last night I went, my daughter is super excited because she's now doing junior high at church. She gets to go in the junior high. And after church, they go to In-N-Out. So we went to In-N-Out and we stayed there till, I don't know, past 11. And that's why I'm tired. Well, then I couldn't sleep because I had just ate. Because I skipped dinner. I was singing, I was doing worship, and it took so much out of me. When we got to In-N-Out, I was like, man, I was telling her, worship takes a lot out of me. Like, it's draining for me. I think it's more emotionally draining. And then it was one of those, like, nights where I'm like, I don't think it sounded that great. And when I was on stage, there was, like, a lot of different insecurities I had that were just kind of playing through my mind as I was leading some of the songs or singing some of the songs. But it was a crazy day. I think leading up to church, I think sometimes normally a couple days before I get some sort of, I don't know, like, I don't want to say trial because it's not always a trial. It's like not always like full on anything like that. It's just an upset or, like something trips me. But my power went out, I think a couple hours before. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And the way it happened, it was so weird. I had thought somebody had like turned off the power. So I went to the breaker. Good morning. It was really weird. It was a really weird day. And then I went to worship, and I don't know, I just felt off. And then after singing, well, being on stage and singing, like the amount of noise that I feel that goes through my brain standing up there is sometimes hard to shake. And even during practice I was praying and I'm like, oh, this is a big song. Like, this is not a song I normally sing. And I hadn't sung it in a while. I sing it at like a impromptu kind of thing. But man, like, I was super nervous. It was like the last song. And I don't know, I jumped in the song and I was like, something feels off. I don't know if I'm singing harmony or if I had moved. It was a weird feeling. But I was just praying and I was like, Lord, like, oh, like, I think it came together. But it was just one of those, like, man, it gets overwhelming. I think being on stage and serving in worship is such a privilege, and it's such a heavy weight, and I'm always very overly concerned about what's going on, about how it sounds. And I don't know, at one point though, we sang a song, and it's just nice to hear everybody sing. I think that's my favorite part, when everybody's singing and then I'm off the mic and I just listen. And that's probably the best part. Hello, good morning. But it was interesting. Today my Bible study starts and we're doing Matthew, and I'm excited to, I think it's a 3-part series. Oops, so sorry. A 3-part series, and I'm excited to dive into Matthew. I think that's going to be a good one. I'd been thinking about Matthew. But I'll go ahead and read. I'm in Hosea chapter 10, and it says, Israel empties his vine. He brings forth fruit for himself, according to the multitude of his fruit. He has increased the altars according to the bounty of his land. They have embellished his sacred pillars. Their heart is divided. Now they are held guilty. He will break down their altars. He will ruin their sacred pillars. For now they say, we have no king, because we did not fear the Lord. As for a king, what would he do for us? They have spoken words, swearing falsely and making a covenant. This judgment springs up like a hemlock in the furrow of the fields. The inhabitant of Samaria fear because of the calf of Beth-aven, for its people mourn for it, and its priests shriek for it, because its glory has departed from it. The idol also shall be carried to Assyria as a present for King Jareb. Ephraim shall receive shame, and Israel shall be ashamed of his own counsel. As for Samaria, her king is cut off, like a twig on the water. Also the high places of Avon, the sin of Israel, shall be destroyed. The thorn and thistle shall grow on their altars. They shall say to the mountains, cover us, and to the hills, fall on us. O Israel, you have sinned from the days of Gibeah. There they stood. The battle in Gibeah against the children of iniquity did not overtake them. When it is my desire, I will chasten them. People shall be gathered against them when I bind them for 2 transgressions. Ephraim is a trained heifer that loves to thresh grain. But I will harness her fair neck. I will make Ephraim pull a plow. Judah shall plow. Jacob shall break his clods. Sow for yourselves righteousness. Reap in mercy. Break up your fallow ground. For it is time to seek the Lord, till he comes and rains righteousness on you. You have plowed wickedness. You have reaped iniquity. You have eaten the fruit of lies. Because you trusted in your own way, in the multitude of your mighty men. Therefore tumult shall arise among you, your people, and your fortress shall be plundered, as Shalman plundered Beth Arbel in the day of battle. a mother dashed in pieces upon her children. Thus it shall be done to you, O Bethel, because of your great wickedness. At dawn, the king of Israel shall be cut off utterly. And for verse 4, it says, Samaria's kings had attempted to find security, not in faithfulness to God, but in alliances and treaties with foreign powers. Thus Samaria had sowed the seeds of her own judgment, which were now sprouting like poisonous weeds throughout the land. The execution of God's judgment would produce such a terror in Israel that people would cry out for the mountains to cover them and the hills to fall on them. About 700 years later, Jesus used this imagery to describe how the Jews would react to their destruction by Rome. Also, those in the Great Tribulation at the end time will likely utilize this cry. So it's kind of reflecting. And I've kind of heard this passage quoted, I think, when we've done like an end times study at church. Especially when what I've seen is when the verse that I've seen quoted before was, they say to the mountains, cover us, and to the hills, fall on us. I've heard that, and I'm not sure if that's because it's in another chapter and that's why, but I recognize that passage. For chapter 11 it says, When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. As they called them, so they went from them. They sacrificed to the Baals, and burned incense to carved images. I taught Ephraim to walk, taking them by their arms. But they did not know that I healed them. I drew them with gentle cords, with bands of love. And I was to them as those who take the yoke from their neck. I stooped and fed them. He shall not return to the land of Egypt, but the Syrians shall be his king, because they refuse to repent. And the sword shall slash in his cities, devour his districts, and consume them. Because of their own counsels, my people are bent on backsliding from me. Though they call to the Most High, none at all exalt him. How can I give you up, Ephraim? How can I hand you over, Israel? How can I make you like Admah? How can I set you like Zeboam? My heart churns within me. My sympathy is stirred. I will not execute the fierceness of my anger. I will not again destroy Ephraim. For I am God and not man, the Holy One in your midst, and I will not come with terror. They shall walk after the lion. He will roar like a lion when he roars. Then he says, his sons shall come trembling from the west. They shall come trembling like a bird from Egypt, like a dove from the land of Assyria. And I will let them dwell in their houses, says the Lord. Ephraim has encircled me with lies, and the house of Israel with deceit. But Judah still walks with God, even with the Holy One who is faithful. For the commentary for verse 1 through 4, it says, God revealed another dimension of his love for Israel in these verses. In addition to loving her as a husband loves a wife, he loved her as a devoted and nurturing parent. Israel's rejection of God's love seemed even more outrageous in light of tender care and interest he has always had for his cherished children. God has sympathy for his people. God does not want to see his people utterly destroyed, as were Admah and Zeboam, the cities of the plain destroyed with Sodom and Gomorrah. And for verse 11 it says, God's repentant people will be returned to the land. The lion's simile is used for God. The roar of the lion suggests a clear and loud call from God to his people. Christ is the Lion of Judah. The bird and the dove images represent Israel. Bird and dove suggest the swiftness of the future return of God's people. These images strengthen the picture of divine authority violated by Israel's rebellion. This return of God's chastened and obedient people took place after they served their time of punishment in exile. I like that. The chapter is titled God's Continuing Love for Israel. And I know we've been kind of talking about that, because Hosea is, I think it shows a lot about love. But it's redeeming love. Yeah, I would say the book was on redeeming love. That's I would say the gist of Hosea. And when I made the picture like for YouTube, I made this this like there's like hearts on it and stuff. So the one that I made for YouTube, you'll see. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I had seen it and I was like, that's so cool. I looked up love and on Canva, and then I saw it on there and I was like, oh, I like this one. It's cool. It kind of looks like a like it's a search bar, and then it has just like hearts all around it. I really like that picture. And my daughter was like, this is the best one you made so far. And I was like, that's cool. And it's just the title of Hosea, but I liked it because I think it really represented, I think that's probably the first one that, other than like, I think the Bible in 90 days, I made that video, the picture that goes to that video. That one was a pretty cool icon. I like that one. But I was like, what picture would represent Hosea? And I really thought like love and the hearts, and that was a big representation of like redeeming love. So that's cool. I like making those little things on Canva. Yeah, I kind of felt like this today we're probably going to finish Hosea, because I only have 3 more chapters left and we're halfway through. I'm in Hosea. I'm about to read chapter 12. Hello. What is WYA mean? Oh, thank you. Yeah, actually it's mushroom coffee. I have pumpkin in it, and then I threw in some vital proteins. I'm from California. Where are you from? Sorry, I think my voice is like super tired today. I sang yesterday, but I don't know, there's sometimes when I sing and I'm like, I should have warmed up better. Oh, a prodigal son? Atlanta. I love Atlanta. I've been there a couple times. I went there for the World Series, and I saw the Braves World Series. Such an amazing stadium. And then I forgot the place. There's a name for it. Right outside the park, and they have like a big TV screen, and sometimes they have like their band, their marching band, drumline play. I really like that place. I'm reading. Yeah, it's not like a Bible study, but it's just like my read for today, and I read some of the commentary in my Bible. It was amazing. I went I was there, I think on Halloween day, because I remember I brought a costume and I forgot to take it with me, because when you got into that, because we went to one game and we did like a standing where you stand, and it was so cool, but I was so tired because I had to like walk around, and then I was like, oh, we need to find like somewhere to sit, because it's like you just stand like, which was cool because we walked all the way around the park, and then we'd sit in certain spots, and when it first started we sat down, and then we're like, okay, I think for the first couple innings we sat down because people get there late anyways, so we sat in the seats and we ended up leaving and walking around. Actually, I was watching the seats, which seats were sold. I was watching online. I'm like, okay, these seats are not sold yet. So I sat there and I was like, okay, they just sold. We should just go. And then we walked around the park. So I read, do I read every day? I read a lot, about 4 or 5 times a week. These lives really help me to read. And I normally do about 5 lives. I do sometimes read devotionals. I have a Bible study. I guess sometimes I read 7 days. But yeah, I think 4 or 5 times a week, I'm like, I gotta, like, I don't, my week goes much better. And I don't mean like I don't have a bad week, but I feel much better after reading that many times, mentally and emotionally and spiritually. But I listen to a lot of sermons, so I'm constantly listening to different churches and different pastors, sometimes women events. Like if I know that there's like a women's conference, I'll listen to it, or I'll go to certain events. Like Saturday, I went to a women's conference at another church, and they were doing a whole like day of the gifts of the Spirit and talking about the Spirit. And then that night there was an outreach, and it was like a revival night where they did like baptisms, they did skate shows. I didn't make it to the skate shows. And they did an amazing like worship and message. If you're looking for a Bible study, I just finished this one that I really like. It's called The Pursuit of Holiness by Jerry Bridges. It's going to be one of those ones that I read multiple times. But oh, like online. Yeah. I'm always kind of worried about copyright because that could happen. Yeah, I've noticed that, and that's why I come online, because a lot of people like to hear the Bible. And sometimes I'm pretty sure I'm the background noise. Because people don't always comment or anything like that. But that's why I've been putting a lot of it on YouTube. I want to do another go through the Bible series. But I kind of want to do that not like a live, but just a daily thing. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do it on TikTok, where I'll just start like Genesis. I do have the Bible in 90 days, which is actually I think 89 days, because I think it gives you like it gives you like a leeway day. Because I read the Bible 90 days, or 89 days, whatever. I did it Monday through Friday, so I didn't technically read on live in 90 days, but in total. You should try commentaries. Commentaries are very helpful. I listen to I listen to sermons, but which is similar to commentaries, but there are some commentary resources that help a lot. Oh, for me, that would be tough. I have thought of writing something, because I have a friend who did a devotional. Actually, somebody asked me like, "Oh, you should do like a devotional," and I was like, I don't know. I actually love to write, but I don't know. No, you're fine. I only have like a couple chapters left. Yeah, I thought of doing a Bible study because I notice, like, so I had on my last church I had a pastor's wife who actually wrote studies, and she made them super simple, and it was very helpful. And the church I'm at now does a lot of Bible studies. You know, we've been using I think it's Brenda Harris and something. The writers are Davis and Harris. I have a book right now. Stacy Davis and Brenda Harris. I think it's from another church, and they do videos and they do studies. And I'm like, oh, like, not that it would be really easy or anything like that, but it'd be fun. Yeah, I have thought of it. I don't know. I'm not like, I feel like I can say it, but when it comes to writing it down, I know there's a lot of legalities and there's a lot of, depends, it depends on if you publish it or anything, but having the like bibliography, having the quotes and the right thing, that's my only kind of concern. It's like, what if I accidentally copyrighted and not, gave the right quote or anything like that. So, but that shouldn't stop me. I do want to try. Even if it's just for myself, I do want to try. I know I have written some topics and that I was like, this would be a really cool one. I haven't seen this before. I read a lot of books. I read a lot of, not necessarily Bibles. I mean, I do Bible studies too. I mean, with the church and stuff. But I read it like a lot. Like there's books like are topical. So I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I'm sure that'd be really cool to do. And I do have the time for it right now. Like, I do have time to do it. It's one of those, like, I just need to hyperfixate on something. And I'm torn between learning an instrument or, like, I was going to take ASL classes, but they were going to do it through Zoom at my church. And I'm like, oh, man, like, I need to be, like, in person. Me and a couple of girls were going to take this ASL class, and it was, like, really inexpensive. And it was just how to minister the gospel to non-believers, or to even some of the songs. They show you how to do the songs. But I was like, I can't do it Zoom. If I'm going to do it Zoom, I might as well do YouTube. So that was the only thing. So anyways, enough about me. Chapter 12 of Hosea says, Ephraim feeds on the wind and pursues the east wind. He daily increases lies and desolation. Also, they make a covenant with Assyrians. Oil is carried to Egypt. The Lord also brings a charge against Judah, and will punish Jacob according to his ways. According to his deeds, he will recompense him. He took his brother by the heel in the womb, and in his strength he struggled with God. Yes, he struggled with the angel and prevailed. He wept and sought favor from him. He found him in Bethel, and there he spoke to us. That is the Lord God of hosts. The Lord is his memorable name. So, you by the help of your God return. Observe mercy and justice, and wait on your God continually. A cunning Canaanite, deceitful scales are in his hand. He loves to oppress. And Ephraim said, Surely I have become rich. I have found wealth for myself in all my labors. They shall find in me no iniquity, that is sin. But I am the Lord your God. Ever since the land of Egypt, I will again make you dwell in tents, as in the days of appointed feasts. I have also spoken by the prophets. I have multiplied visions. I have given symbols to the witness of the prophets. Though Gilead has idols, surely they are vanity. Though they sacrifice bulls in Gilgal, indeed their altars shall be heaps in the furrows of the fields. Jacob fled in the country of Syria. Israel served for a spouse, and for a wife he tended sheep. By a prophet, the Lord brought Israel out of Egypt, and by a prophet he was preserved. Ephraim provoked him to anger most bitterly. Therefore his Lord will leave the guilt of his bloodshed upon him, and return his reproach upon him. I forgot to mention, I think it was chapter 10. Actually, it's chapter 10 and 11. Israel's again is considered a he, which is so interesting, because I think in Jeremiah, I had wrote it down, because normally I see Israel as a female, as a bride or that sort of thing. But these two chapters, they're he's, and that always stuck out in Jeremiah chapter 1. And then in Jeremiah, it goes back to a female. And so I tried to look it up and I couldn't find why it did that, but I just wanted to point that out. Because I'm noticing there's specific times where it's kind of changed. For verse 1, I only have two commentaries, one for verse 1 and one for verse 10. The foolishness of Ephraim's desertion of God culminated in a senseless and ultimately dangerous foreign policy. Here Ephraim is shown courting two foreign powers that were each other's enemies. She made a covenant with Assyria, while at the same place paying a tribute of olive oil to Egypt. This madness would eventually lead to Ephraim's destruction by these two volatile forces. And for verse 10 it says, God has not left his people without guidance, warning, and instruction. He has given words and visions to the prophets, as well as using their lives as parables of his teaching. Hosea's marriage to Gomer is an obvious example. Yeah, so, well, in verse 12 it does talk about Israel as necessarily the actual Israel person. But chapter 11, it looks like it's calling as a nation. Yeah, I don't know why. That kind of just stood out. But yeah, I try to look it up. I think I need to find... I don't know if I necessarily need to find a commentary for this specific chapter or... But I gotta like, you know, like you go on Google now and it gives you like the AI like answer or something. So I'm like, it didn't work, and it was really hard for me to understand. But I have to probably have to ask somebody, then why is Israel a he? And why is it a she? I know Jerusalem is a she, but I feel like Israel goes back and forth. I'll go ahead and continue reading chapter 13. When Ephraim spoke, trembling, he exalted himself in Israel, and when he offended through Baal worship, he died. Now there they sin more and more, and have made for themselves molded images, idols of their silver according to their skill, all of its work of craftsmen. They say to them, let the men who sacrifice kiss the calves, therefore they shall be like morning cloud, like the early dew that passes away, like chaff blown off from a threshing floor, and like smoke from a chimney. Yet I am the Lord your God, ever since the land of Egypt, and you shall know no God but me, for there is no Savior beside me. I know you are in the wilderness, in the land of great drought. When they had pasture, they would filled. They were filled. They were filled, and their heart was exalted. Therefore they forgot me. So I will be to them like a lion, like a leopard by the road I will lurk. I will meet them like a bear deprived of her cubs. I will tear open their rib cage, and there I will devour them like a lion. The wild beasts shall tear them. O Israel, you are destroyed, but your help is from me. I will be your king. Where is any other, that he may save you in all your cities, and your judges to whom you said, give me a king and princes? I gave you a king in my anger, and took him away in my wrath. The iniquity of Ephraim is bound up, his sin is stored up. The sorrows of a woman in childbirth shall come upon him. He is an unwise son, for he shall not stay long where children are born. I will ransom them from the power of the grave. I will redeem them from death. O death, I will be your plagues. O grave, I will be your destruction. Pity is hidden from my eyes. Though he is fruitful among his brethren, an east wind shall come. The wind of the Lord shall come up from the wilderness. Then his spring shall become dry, and his fountain shall be dried up. He shall plunder the treasury of every desirable prize. Samaria is held guilty, for she has rebelled against her God. They shall fall by the sword, their infants shall be dashed in pieces, and their woman with child ripped open. Oh, that's so intense. Yeah, you could see the original Hebrew. This is that's an intense judgment right there. For verse 13, it says, God used a familiar figure of a woman giving birth to alert Israel to the fact that the sufferings and calamities she was experiencing, sorrow of woman in childbirth, are meant as refining judgments, which could lead Israel to a new birth. Unwisely, the child refused to heed the signals of birth, and so the womb became a grave. Ooh, the womb became a grave. That's an intense statement, and it's very true, I think, today. Verse 14. God promised to redeem his people, even from all-powerful death. God is authority over death and the grave. The apostle quoted this verse in his teaching on the resurrection, where the Christ's power over death and Hades is final. And Hades in the Greek is literally the place of the dead. For verse 16, it says, because Samaria rebelled against her covenant with God, she will no longer enjoy his protection when the wrath of her enemies fell upon her. The viciousness of this attack was revealed in the horrific picture of Israel's infants, born and unborn, falling victim to the onslaught. I'll go ahead and just continue. This is the last chapter of Hosea. It's chapter 14. O Israel, return to the Lord your God, for you have stumbled because of your iniquity. Take words with you, and return to the Lord. Say to them, take away all iniquity. Receive us graciously, for we will offer the sacrifices of our lips. Assyria shall not save us. We will not ride on horses, nor will we say any more to the work of our hands, you are our gods. For if you, the fatherless, find mercy, for in you the fatherless finds mercy, I will heal their backsliding. I will love them freely, for my anger has turned away from him. I will be like the dew to Israel. He shall grow like the lily, and lengthen his roots like Lebanon. His branches shall spread. His beauty shall be like an olive tree, and his fragrance like Lebanon. Those who dwell under his shadow shall return. They shall be revived like grain, and grow like a vine. Their scent shall be like the wine of Lebanon. Ephraim shall say, what have I to do any more with idols? I have heard and observed him. I am like a green cypress tree. Your fruit is found in me. Who is wise? Let him understand these things. Who is prudent? Let him know them. For the ways of the Lord are right. The righteous walk in them, but transgressors stumble in them. For verses 1 through 3, it says, Hosea issued one final call for true repentance, characterized by both the correct words and the correct actions. Israel must know that only in acknowledging guilt and putting her faith in God alone would she be able to find her Father's mercy. I'm thankful for his mercy. We're talking about, last night we were talking about grace. And he was talking about, let me check my notes. growing in grace. And that was a cool statement. For verses 4 through 7, it says, Hosea portrayed Israel's beautiful restoration. Although Hosea's prophecies had boiled with warnings and threats of God's judgment, which subsequently were fulfilled, he ended a book on a note of hope. The ultimate reunion Hosea and Gomer experienced in their marriage was a picture of Israel's future restoration with the Lord. God's healing and restoring love would endure forever. I like that. I often hear like redeeming love, but I like that they said restoring love. Restoration. So tomorrow I do want to come on. Thank you, Cody, for the follow. I want to come on again, but I'm trying to think what book I could read, because I don't want to start like a whole new book and on a Friday. So I'm like, ugh. But if I can read one tomorrow, maybe I'll read something from the New Testament. They're a little bit shorter. My go-to was always going to like the Paul's letters. But I know, let's see. I read Ephesians and Galatians. I wonder if Colossians might be a good one. I'm looking at the different books that I've read so far. Because I think Colossians is only like 6 chapters. I feel like I read Colossians recently. Where should I go? I read Galatians, Ephesians. I know I read Philippians. I feel like I did read Colossians. At church on Wednesdays, we're reading 1 Peter. And maybe we can read 2 Peter. 2 Peter's only 3 chapters. And for 2 Peter, maybe I'll read 2 Peter. I will see. Tomorrow will probably be a shorter book and a shorter read. I'm surprised today went a little bit shorter because I had like 4 chapters, but I think Hosea just has small chapters, and that's why maybe the read. And it's a little bit more like straightforward. But I will let you guys go. I know I'm ending kind of early, but if you guys miss any of these lives, I've been posting them on YouTube, and it's just the same name. I think there's a link from my page to YouTube as well. But they're all on there, and they're just the lives. They're uncut. They're not like I didn't edit them this time, so you're gonna get just kind of our conversations and just the different things that happens on the lives as well. But I hope you guys have a blessed day, and I hope to see you tomorrow.